gentlemen, step right up. Let's go see the elephant. When I'm a roll on a honey. I'm a roll on a honey, and you can't keep up with me.
All right, welcome back, folks. That's right. It's time for round two, as Lucas likes to put it. That's right, round two of the
Where's the bell?
American Adversaries. There it is.
Round two.
Yeah, we need a more manly-sounding bell, though. Anyway, welcome back to the show, folks. That's right. You got us on AM 660. The Answer will be live right here on the airwaves and on AM660theanswer.com right up to straight up to 7 o'clock. I am Christopher Hart, along with Lucas Paris. He's got us up on the Periscope. That's him. And, of course, you can see us at our channel on YouTube. That's American Adversaries TV on YouTube. Nick LaCicero is on the bridge. We're in good hands with him. 407-774-8255 is the number as we once again come to you live from the Mercury Free Broadcasting Studios. And for the very best and complete dentistry, call my dentist, Dr. James E. Hardy, at 407-678-3399. He'll fix you right up. And don't forget to ask him about his great book, Mercury Free. Okay, we got a whole another hour to go here, so once again, chime in if you like. I just want to kind of review a little bit because the president admitted today that we don't have a quote-unquote complete strategy to fight the Islamic State, commonly known as ISIS, who has now expanded all across the Middle East. Their reach is getting farther and farther away from Iraq and Syria, which of course is where the main bulk of the fighting is going on. But their influence and their reach keeps expanding. I think it's into some like 30 countries now across Africa and Middle East and into Asia. And of course the problem is only growing while our president dilly-dallies around trying to figure out what strategy he's going to come up with, what complete strategy. And what he meant by that was, well, it wouldn't be complete, of course, until we have Iraqi participation. And, of course, he sets forth basically things that aren't going to happen with the Iraqis. They're not going to be effective coalition partners because we have deserted them. We've basically undermined them. Anything that would have made them effective coalition partners went out the window when the troops left. So he has basically made it impossible for them to be an effective partner in this coalition, and yet he demands that they do be that so that then we would have a complete strategy. Well, obviously he's set up a situation that he knows will never happen, so he can go along and continue to blame it, as he always does, on someone else. But as Abe pointed out, and by the way, if you didn't hear our first hour of the show, we interviewed Abe Katzman. He comes to us live from Jerusalem every Monday. He's got a great article that came out in the American Thinker this weekend called Forfeiting America's Military Leverage, that this administration basically has changed the way we carry out diplomacy around the world. I guess Jimmy Carter might have been close to this, but even Carter was of the mind that we needed a strong military. I mean, he went forward with the B-2 bomber. He wanted the neutron bomb. He took a lot of heat from a lot of liberals over the neutron bomb. I don't know if you folks remember what the neutron bomb was, but some buddies of mine wrote a sort of a head-banging song about it, heavy metal song. Neutron bomb, everybody wants one. Neutron bomb, the Pentagon's gotten one. Neutron bombs, the people they die, but the buildings they stay. The idea of the neutron bomb is it wouldn't have a very large explosive force, so that it wouldn't be very destructive in that sense, but the neutron radiation would kill a lot of people.
End of all flesh.
Yeah, so, you know, Jimmy Carter had his moments, let's just say. This president doesn't. His moments that he has are all bad, all signs of weakness, always trampling on the greatness of America and American values, making excuses, making apologies, blaming other people, other things. Never standing up and being, you know, I was told one time that a sign of maturity is when you quit blaming your problems on other people, in particular your parents, for instance. But, you know, it's when you finally decide to stand up and take responsibility for your own actions and your own decisions, that's a sign of maturity. We do not see that in this president. But we've never seen that in this president. He is the most immature 47, 48, 50-year-old man well, actually, he's older than that now. What am I talking about? 57, 58-year-old man that has ever walked, in the halls of the White House. And the answer for his strategy is in Abe's article, and that is to get back to what we used to call gunboat diplomacy. In other words, not necessarily, as Abe said, physically, putting a military presence off the border of some state, but at least having a credible threat that you will do something like that you will take military action. Then people sit up and take notice and listen to you, and will give you, shall we say, concessions that they will not otherwise give. The reason the president cannot get any concessions out of the Iranians is because he has no credibility. There is no umph to his threats. There is no credibility to his threats. Yes, we have the greatest military in the world, but they see that military as shrinking. And they know, by the admission of our own Secretary of Defense, that we can no longer fight two wars simultaneously. That is a shrunken military from the time that this president took office, a dramatically shrunken military. So if you want to have an effective strategy, if you want our opponents in the world to listen to you and take heed of what your threats are, your red lines, and if you want our allies to feel confident when you promise them things, the first thing you need to do is to turn this deteriorating military around into a rebuilding military. You want to talk about shovel-ready jobs? How about great technical-ready jobs? How about we put factories back to work that are sitting closed and empty right now? We put steel mills back to work, producing high-quality steel for the hulls of ships and the skins of tanks and the tubes of cannons. We start doing that, and we start doing that in a serious way, and our friends and our foes around the world, as Abe rightfully says, they're watching. They will take notice. They will take notice. And the lesson is in what Madison did when he followed Jefferson. Jefferson, as brilliant as the man was, he couldn't bring himself to doing what it took to get the Barbary pirates to stop harassing us and demanding money from us. And so Madison comes along and he says, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build up our Navy. I'll send it over there, and I'll give them the choice. I'll give them the choice of either signing a treaty and making peace with us, and we'll leave them alone as long as they hold to the treaty, or we'll just blow them all to hell. Give them the choice. But it has to be a credible threat. And see, when he had a bunch of ships pull up right off Tripoli over there, and the Pasha could look out his little telescope there and see them, and see the cannon portholes, the holes in the side of the ships, where you had different cannons that could poke out of there and send, shells and ordnance your way, it became believable all of a sudden. But when there was no military, when there was no real threat, well, the Pasha took hostages, made slaves out of our sailors, tortured them, the whole 9 yards. The answer is simple. You get back to basics. If you want people to believe your threats, militarily speaking, you must have a military that will make them fear the threats. And when they see our military shrinking, when they hear our top military civilian officers say that we can no longer fight two wars at one time, here's what they're thinking. Okay, even if the United States does take military action against us, they could not sustain that military action because their military is now so deteriorated, mothballed, if you will. So all we got to do is ride out a few attacks, go to the UN and plead our case and cry and moan and talk about how we're being discriminated against and give them the liberal, pitch, hook, line, and sinker. Of course, they'll eat it up at the UN. Next thing you know, we'll be getting treated like Israel, where we're the bad guys. And that'll be the end of that. But that's the bad news. The good news is we can turn this around, just like Madison turned it around after Jefferson. It just takes the will to do it. Of course, with this president, we don't have that will. But With the Republicans, many of them in the field, I think we do have the will to do that sort of thing. But it needs to go farther than that. It needs to be the will in the nation to do this sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying that we have to go invade every country, but we might. And we better damn well be prepared to do it. Because if we're not, it's not going to be like World War II where we can ramp up right away and take care of business. This is a different kind of problem here. We need to have the forces ready to go. We can't do it after the fact. It needs to be done before the fact with the hope in mind that it will prevent that type of conflagration. Madison built up the Navy, he sent it over there, and guess what the Pasha did? Well, Tripoli is still standing. We did not level it because the Pasha got his mind right. He came to his senses, he signed the treaty, and he stuck to it. And the reason he stuck to it is because Madison stuck to his strategy of a strong military, peace through strength. He said peace is preferable to war, but war is preferable to being enslaved or subjugated to any other force or power. So peace is preferable to war, Mr. Obama, but your type of peace is only going to bring us closer to war, not get us further away from it. So, don't go far away from us, folks, because we'll be right back after this short break. We got a lot more to talk about. I'm going to talk about Hillary and Dino Soros and why there's some good news in that bad news. We'll be right back.